Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show. Another of the John Fourcade specials here at Ray Brandt Toyota. All remaining 2014 Corollas, $159 a month lease. Again, on all remaining 2014 Corollas, $159 a month lease. Come see them here at Ray Brandt Toyota.
Tough to get that out there for the value.
Yeah. Sometimes the Corolla stuff doesn't come out nearly as smooth as you want. Back here, Mike Detillier, John Fourcade at Ray Brandt Toyota. John, one of the main areas of concern for the New Orleans Saints for 2014, release of Jabari Greer is going to be at that cornerback position. You never have enough, and we were laughing about it because there are probably 30 other teams in the NFL that need cornerbacks. There's only one who really does it, and that's Seattle.
Yeah.
They got a slew of them at that position, but it's an area of great concern. You never have enough, and it's not just about having starters. It's also about the nickel, dime, and if you get hurt in the secondary, that's a big drop-off from that number 2 guy to the number 4 guy.
Well, Mike, you know as well as I do, when you watch NFL football games nowadays, the old days you had 4 DBs. You don't have that anymore. You got almost 5 DBs, 6 DBs who start the game sometimes against certain teams. If you're playing the Denver Broncos, you probably start with 5 or 6 DBs. So you got to have a bunch of DBs who are more or less your cornerbacks who can go to the inside slot positions to cover the Wes Welkers and those guys of that nature. So that's why you're seeing teams load up nowadays on DBs.
One of the things, too, is basically you got your third best receiver is a lot better than most people's third best corner.
Yes.
So that's why we see it. We're going to go take a look at my draft board here for the 2014 NFL Draft. Darqueze Dennard from Michigan State, my top-rated cornerback. Number 2 guy, Justin Gilbert from Oklahoma State. Kyle Fuller, guy who I think will end up being a late first-round pick right there from Virginia Tech. Bradley Roby from Ohio State, and the 2 young men from Florida, Marcus Roberson, Laquise Purifoy. And so those are the guys, John, I think those 6 guys, I think probably in the top 50, 60 draft choices here. But right off the bat, Darqueze Dennard, we got to see him play quite a bit at Michigan State. Not a huge cover cornerback, but a guy who's real tough. And, man, he mans up well one-on-one downfield.
Well, that's the key about it. Can you defend people? And you look at him here on tape right now. He's defending, and people just besides just watching what we're talking about here, Mike Detillier's got a draft book out right now. You can just go in there and read these draft books and his analysis of all these players that we're talking about right now. But with Michigan State, what they did this past season with their defense, he was one big contributor to that defensive unit.
And he's got great ball skills. That's the thing. You know, a lot of times guys are looking at just knocking the ball down. The one thing that kind of separates when I look at Dennard, and also we're going to take a look at Justin Gilbert, is, man, they play the football and they want the big interception. They want that big play. The other young man, certainly Justin Gilbert from Oklahoma State, Texas high school kid. I got to kind of do some scouting on him when he came out, went to Oklahoma State. Also fantastic in the return game. A little bigger player than Darqueze Dennard, but a guy that you can see well-built, a real physical kid, catches the football, and look what he brings to the table as a return man. You can see a former high school running back, and he's got those skills, John. He can take it to the house when he gets an opening.
Mike, the thing with him is in the conference that he played in, there is a throwing league that they go up against week in and week out. So that just goes to show you, he is highly on everybody's list right now. He's not afraid to when he gets that ball in his hand, to take it to the house. And I think that's what people look at, the capability of being a return specialist as well as a good, solid, studded defensive back.
You know, one of the things when you look at Dennard and Gilbert is the fact that they're not afraid to make a mistake out on the field. They're going to gamble.
Yes.
But one mistake doesn't affect the next play. And we've seen a lot of guys come out with the athleticism, their ability to kind of match up downfield, but they give up a couple of big plays and it mentally affects them. And I know Ed Reed told me this years ago, they don't care what you did in high school and college. When you're in the NFL and you're a rookie, they're going after you because they want to break you mentally. Then you start to make the physical mistakes.
Well, Mike, you know as well as I do. When I was playing ball, if we threw 30 times a game, you got those 30 opportunities as a defensive back. Nowadays, you're going to throw 40 to something to 50 times a game. You're going to make those mistakes. You're going to make an aggressive move here and there. But you know what? You got 50 opportunities. In the old days, you got 20-something to 30-something. You can't make a big mistake because you might not get that extra opportunity as you're getting nowadays playing against these teams that are just spreading it and throwing it. So times have changed. So these guys nowadays in the NFL can take more chances at maybe an interception or a big play here and there. But they know from a defensive standpoint, That's why you're out there, son. You do your job. We got your other back on the other side of the football.
The other thing, too, I think you could equate the cornerback position to left tackle in the NFL on offense. You know, you can be in the game for 70 plays and you mess up twice and everybody say, man, you gave up 2 sacks on that, or you gave up 2 touchdowns. Well, you know, the margin of error is real short at that cornerback position, just like it is at left tackle. And also you protecting the star player on the team. And so basically you're doing the same thing as a cornerback. If you can cover up well, you're protecting your best defensive player who's rushing that quarterback.
Well, you know as well as I do, Mike, you've been around long enough that when you look at the offensive side of football, they don't worry about talking about your run blocking. They want to worry about if you getting up a sack, or quarterback getting hit from a tackle standpoint. And then on the flip side, when you're a defensive back, they're not asking you to make tackles. They're asking you to cover. It's not the old days, the Deion Sanders, where you know you want to run that Deion because he's never going to tackle anybody. These guys nowadays, unless you're Seattle with the big boys, they want you to play cover corner. Don't worry about the running game, linebackers and guys in front. So you were right. The defensive backs and the tackles on offense are the 2 main guys that people are looking at.
Well, we talk about Denard and Gilbert. I think 2 guys whose name will come up in discussion, and kind of where in the area where the Saints pick at. Jason Verrett, also from TCU, Kyle Fuller from Virginia Tech, Marcus Roberson. Maybe the most gifted cover cornerback in this draft class, Bradley Roby from Ohio State. We have some film on Bradley. He's a guy that's had some off-the-field issues, and he's not maybe the most technically sound guy, but you can see physically, he's exactly the type cornerback, size-wise, speed, everything else. But you're going to have to look at some of the intangibles in him. Also a real aggressive football player, and we see him out here just absolutely rocking the big tight end, C.J. Fedorowicz from Iowa.
Well, the question is, will he play defensive back as a cornerback, or will he move into a safety type situation? So he could be a Malcolm Jenkins type athlete where start out as a corner, but end up playing the safety.
One of the things with Roby is the fact that when he's been one-on-one with people, also almost disinterested at times. And that, you know, when he plays against a great player, he's played fantastic. When he's playing against an average guy, you know, he's played average. And that part about the stock market type mentality is what I don't like. That's why a Verrett or a Roberson or Fuller or the young men we talked about, much more consistency. So it's a little bit of a gamble on Bradley Roby.
Well, let's put it this way. When he gets to the NFL, there won't be no times that he's going to take off because those receivers will see that. And you know as well as I do, NFL's got some quality receivers that can go up against it. And they'll find that on the film. They'll say, hey, wait a second, this guy kind of takes a play off here and there. We'll go at him 100% and see what happens then. So he better make a quick adjustment the way he played in college ball to the way he's going to play in pro football.
One of the things, too, is in this draft class, really loaded at the wide receiver position where you may have 8 to 9 wide receivers go in the first and second round. John, I'm willing to bet the second position after that, cornerback, because you're going to have somebody that can measure up against those receivers.
Well, Mike, you did hit the nail on the head. This is a passing league. If you're going to go out and get receivers, and the receivers they're going after nowadays are big receivers, tight ends that are from basketball players, and basketball players who are also playing wide receivers. So look at the defensive back. No more 5'9" guys or 5'8". They want them 6-foot DBs. Everybody's going after what Seattle's done.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more coverage of the NFL draft. We'll be talking about the linebacker core right here on the John Fourcade Show, presented each week by the Ray Brandt Automotive family. We'll be right back.